We have a bit of channeled guidance for my 5D collective in your own relationships and the 5D ones, as well as in your own personal development as you master that emotional body and work with your mental body, the left and right mode together. So move towards integration of the brain, move towards being a secure person. So that means you know about restorative embodied self and doing the work with you. And so how you show up, whether it be through the 4D collective verbiage that you've learned, and that's for my mystics, or through the lovely educators that are good trauma therapists and attachment therapists and relationship good ones, not the ones that do the trending topics. The trending are for the 4D collective. You will know that because you are a person who's inclined to know about you can't fuck up a relationship by being yourself. That's a 5D person. And in fact, on that note, our channeled guidance begins with one Sadhguru. Once you have no problem making mistakes, admitting them and correcting them, hardly any mistakes will happen. But I also gave you a quote in our recent short, and this is from the Do the Work podcast. And I'm going to venture off and say this is a therapist, a person who knows about attachment styles, because they were talking to the anxious attachment person about how not to worry, that if they get preoccupied, it's okay, you're human, and you know what, somebody can get over it or work with you. So here's where anxious or avoidant, they usually come together, and that's where the twin flame saga individuals are. The 4D collective, though, keeps people who want a story, as they do want the story. So when they're listening to their tarot reader who says, oh, somebody made them do something, now they're envious, now they're jealous, they're coming and doing magic, and they're trying to fuck with you. And like, seriously, there's one reader I came across as she moved into more of this. I don't even know how she went into the spiral, but I saw her followers grow. I know plenty of people that are 4D collective, and with their twin flame, they have a type of discourse where it's basically, I'm going to prove to you that I'm worthy without you, and once you come back, I'm going to make you crawl. And like, it's just teenage stuff, like just watch a movie. So they didn't resolve their attachment and security, which actually is something beautiful to be able to resolve, because it's your nervous system's way. Safety behaviors are because an infant doesn't choose to shut off their emotional body or their seat of empathy. It's that the body adapts to its environment. So when you look at people who have secure attachment, which is a person, once you move into your 5D-ness, it's because you're learning to make sense of the emotions that arise. That's why it's mastery of your emotional body and your mental body. The inner growth mindset supports people to get into that. And then you choose on your own to keep being yourself, because you know in your heart, there's nothing wrong with me being flawed and imperfect. I unconditionally love who I am. Purusha, pure consciousness. I unconditionally love who others are. Purusha, again, they're a piece of life. I accept you for who you are. You don't have to have secure attachment. You can be anxious, avoidant. You can be fearful, avoidant. And it's not going to be a problem. You're not going to fuck up a real connection by telling someone how you feel. Do the Work podcast. I haven't heard of them, meaning I haven't heard them, but if you're looking for other podcasts in addition to IHP, go for it, because they're probably giving a lot of good information out, especially for ones who want to build their relationships, which is where we're at with 5D. So remember that the avoidant in their childhood was forced to put the parents' needs above their own. They had controlling and potentially critical parents, and they were shamed for sharing their emotions. And so they don't actually know that until they figure it out by saying, I shouldn't shame myself for having emotions. It's okay to fuck up, being yourself. You know what? You can't accept me for who I am? Peace out. Thank you so much for your time. Because that's all that's going to happen when you're a secure person. You're not going to be like, let me insult you some and call you devil or demon or evil. 5D collective. We use our right brain. We don't transfer it. We don't do the let me shit on you because you did something in a way that I wasn't appreciative of. No, I'm going to say I wasn't appreciative of this. Here's why. I know how to use my mouth, and that's because I'm using my left and right together, even in the absence of knowing about the feedback wheel. I love Terry Real. If I have time, I'm going to share with you something that he shares, and actually you can look up the video in case we don't have time. How to complain effectively and get what you want. Obviously, I disagree with the way that it's titled, but I get how it's going to attract people to it. So he just explains to you how to use your prefrontal cortex, be the wise adult. So getting into a conversation with somebody that you're with, he's a relationship therapist with mindful relationships. So he's actually, if you need anyone, go to him. Don't do twin flame coaches. Don't do the trending topic coaches. Do somebody who knows how people work, so that you can actually become the wise version of you versus somebody who will have, who will have an immature agenda. So the adaptive child has an immature agenda because they have low self-esteem, indirect communication, passive aggressive. They will use words, and they will try to use words in a way because they don't know that their charge is the 2-year-old, because they didn't handle their emotional body, because the structural dissociation is happening as they interact with you because they've watched some movie that basically makes it okay for them to interact. And this is on all sides. That's why I don't appreciate the 4D collective with their tarot readings, but I know that some people, they live the life of mean girls. They live the life of hangover. You actually explain to them how optimization of the human being is enlightenment. Soul age group. Without the spirituality, you don't need to be spiritual. Your actual integration of the brain and restorative embodied self. It's amazing. So with the inner growth mindset, with our inspiring human potential content, we get to do always a lot of emotional regulation, skill building, and we get to learn how to experience relationships minus the drama. So that's paid subscription-based model content to be continued on YouTube once we get membership activation, and also have some plans for a lovely little group community building stuff. IHP, only 5D. If you love being a human and you know there's no devil, there's no demon, and you have clairs, mystics, come on over. You're going to have a lot more fun over here than trying to paint an awful picture, which is really sad because the modulated embodied person is in sympathetic and their brain is in anger. And when anger comes up, the way your brain works in anger is that it's going to hone in on what's negative, and it's going to say, I know it, you're doing it on purpose. But we create stories, as Terry Real pointed out. We always create stories in our head. And that's why, so this thing that he does, this feedback wheel, he basically says, you can spell out with your adult self, with an agenda of an adult. So it means I want to have a conversation because it matters to me. Not because you're trying to, let me get back to avoidant, to fear of being controlled, though, because I feel suffocated. I'm not going to talk to them because they're suffocating me. Oh, yes, there are difficulty in sharing emotions. I just don't want to be emotional. So there's many ways that an adult will decide that they don't actually care to hold on to the relationship. They don't want a long-term relationship. So they allow themselves to choose fear. But they allow themselves also to do a lot of other things. So people who run away, I can find better, or I'm suffocated because they're being very much on me. And here's where the anxious, please don't leave me. I can't find love without you. So the two find each other and then they do a dance, even though that's not a dance. But that's because 5D will know I'm going to choose you for you. You're going to choose me for me. And if you don't like me, that's okay. Peace out. It's this way, right? Yeah, peace out. So avoidant withdraws when overwhelmed. They have a quick way to find how to leave and make up, again, so excuse, low self-esteem though. Anxious, fear of abandonment, constant communication is what they would want. They hate being alone. They're extremely jealous, hypervigilant, low self-worth again. And they had unstable and unavailable parents, or they were neglectful parents and or abusive. And then these people go to what is familiar and they subconsciously work with each other. So what I see is the movies, but when instead we have 5D relationships, that's why in our last minute, what we get to do, because we're using our prefrontal cortex, so we have all hands on deck and we are in a ventral vagal nervous system tone because you're okay with being yourself. Number one. So you're not going to be like, oh, you need to fulfill me. Otherwise, no, your attachment system is okay with being yourself. We'll have a part 2 that goes into depth on other aspects, but this first part of the channeled guidance is to remember you cannot in any way, shape or form fuck up a connection by being yourself and sharing how you feel. Because if somebody cares about the connection, they're not going to cancel you. And if they are an adaptive child and they do cancel you, they want a codependent type relationship. And 5D don't do codependent. We do independent, because I'm a differentiated self and so are you. You have thoughts and feelings and so do I, and we share joy together, not extracted. So tune into the episodes on podcast for more and the YouTube channel too, and have a great day if you don't come back around.